compassion. So the money was created to be used and people were created to be loved. But the world is in chaos because people are being used and money. And there is a saying, modern slaves, they are not enchained. The depression is the body way of communicating. There is something wrong, which you're like, city is deprived of life. Water is listed as a commodity in US stock market, just like oil and gold, which means the water is going to be the next big.
Green Crusader awardee, educator, meditator, and sustainable farmer, our guest today on the Settle or Be Better podcast is Mr. Sagar, who's going to be talking to us about finding a connection back to nature and restoring both the health of our planet and ourselves. So, welcome, Mr. Sagar, and over to you. Why don't you begin by telling us a little bit about your personal health and well-being story, and how is it that you sort of began doing the work that you're currently doing?
Uh, Namaste, and thank you for inviting me to this your program and giving me that platform to reach out to more and more people, educate more people, share all the wisdom which I have gained in last 4 and 5 years. To be honest, this is what I personally believe. Like whatever wisdom I'm going to share is nothing new as such. All the wisdom that has been already shared by the ancient sages and our ancestors. It's just that we have stopped implementing it, and that's where the chaos has begun. So we have become like the trees that are uprooted from its existence, and when the tree get uprooted, you know what happens to a tree, right? So we are heading that way, and now the only way is how to get that tree back to its own existence. So whatever we see, when we talk about growing organic food, in the first place, there is nothing called as organic. This is what I personally believe. It is us who has introduced chemicals. So everything was just natural as it was. So we first introduced chemicals. Now we are dividing into organic and chemicals. So about myself, my journey was, I started my journey as a school teacher. So I was teaching 8th, 9th, 10th grade as a social science teacher. And I was also visiting faculty at Mumbai University. I was teaching natural resource management. So being an educator, it's not only just about what's there as a theory. Until and unless it comes out of the book, it remains a fiction. So that means whatever we are learning, it's just a fiction. So until and unless it comes out of the book, it remains a fiction. And we don't want to live in a fictional world, right? So obviously, education should be made in a way where whatever we are learning, it should also like implemented in the real world. The problems which exist in the real world should be solved in the first place. So now the whole current education system is designed in a way like syllabus is completely from the past. It has nothing to do with the present. And these students are preparing for future. So now you're studying something from the past and you're preparing for the future and you have no clue what's happening in the present. Right, nobody's aware about the current affairs, what's happening to their natural regions, what's happening with their rivers, the water, air. Let's eliminate even the air as well, at least water. So currently India ranks 12th when it's come to severe water crisis. And we all know, I think it's 13th, we all know the Middle East countries doesn't have water. So obviously there would be water scarcity. So top 12 countries are from Middle East. But 13th country is India. India being blessed by rivers, but it's being polluted, one, and our groundwater is being depleted. This is one side of it, okay? Water. Now, obviously, one hand, our population is increasing at tremendous rate. So we have just surpassed China. We have become the largest populated country in the world, okay? Which is a fact. Now, here we have a growing population, and whenever there is a growing population, we need what? The first thing when you wake up, obviously you brush, whatever you do, but obviously you need whatever we are doing in our day-to-day life, it has to also come to feeding ourselves. So whenever there is a scarcity of water, obviously there is a growing population and we need to feed food to this growing population. So obviously, when there's scarcity of water, obviously there would be a problem with the agriculture, and this is polluted water. And with every passing day, as the climate is changing, there are more challenges which we are facing when it's come to agriculture. So there would be a time where the nutrition would be compromised because we have to feed the population. If you have to look at the data in last 30, 40 years, the nutritious value of whatever we eat in our day-to-day life has depleted. So whatever we are consuming is just to fill our stomach, not to put nutrition inside our body. So this is the journey which started as an educator. I realized it's very much important to first grow climate resilient food. Okay, save our indigenous seeds, because there are just 4 or 5 companies that control more than 60% of our food, and there are 10 companies which control almost everything we eat, and that is all the fake food, which comes down to Coke, Pepsi, Nestle, Unilever. They are producing fake food. So these multinational companies are actually controlling our food, and they are pushing more GMO, more fake food into the picture, which will deprive our human health. So this is the journey where the farmers who are actually growing food, they are not getting the right price. They are deprived of life. So somebody who is growing food is deprived of life because why? Because obviously the chemicals have come in. Obviously the companies like Monsanto, they have pushed a lot of GMOs, the chemicals in, and Monsanto has a history where they were producing chemicals during World War. So when the World War was over, they had to continue that thing. So they started pushing chemicals in the form, like they were introducing insecticide, pesticide, and they introduced in a way where if we use this pesticide, obviously it will kill the insects and it will increase the production. But imagine once your pollinators are gone. So every 2/3 of the food which we eat comes from up because of the pollinators. So if they are gone, and here we have a climate crisis, here we have a population crisis, and here we have a water crisis which is coming in. So it's all coming in together. So I thought this is the time of crisis, and whenever there is a crisis, there are a group of conscious and awakened people who just go out there and make sure not everybody go through that suffering, because some people suffer because they have no clue why they are suffering, and some people see why they are suffering. So being on the higher level, it's their moral duty to go out and remove suffering from all aspect of not only human lives but also the unnatural world, which is a living world, and remove all those suffering from all the living creatures. And we go out there and we do whatever we can do on individual level and community level.
Amazing. That's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that with us. And there's just so much to learn from you. Like, ever since I even got introduced to your Instagram, like, just that and me sitting with my parents and discussing the things that you talk about, there's so much to learn from you. And I can't wait to dive into our episode today. And so you said that you were living in Mumbai earlier, right? Like, you were doing a job there. And when you made the switch, what was the switch that you made? And like, what did you observe, the kind of impact it had on your health, on your physical health, on your mental health, and what were the exact changes that you made consciously ever since?
See, it's not only story about me. I think it's a global story. So if actually what problem with us is, we are the species, we are suffering from amnesia. When I say amnesia, we forget everything, even the lessons which we are supposed to learn, we forget it. And nature works differently. Okay, the life lessons will repeat until you pass the test. So there were lessons which we learned during pandemic. So during pandemic, we all were caged inside. Okay, and we actually learned like how important is to just breathe clean air. How important. And during that time when we were all, the only thing we actually needed was food, right? So that was the one thing, and everybody started exercising indoors. Okay, everybody started doing all of their cooking and whatever they wanted to do, because this mental health, you have to get occupied to do something. If you can't just sit automatically anxiety comes in that you're not doing anything. So this is the problem which we are facing as a society, where look at other species, you look at birds, you look at just ants, any other species on this planet, they just live one particular day, they just eat, and they have a lot of free time, they just relax, and they are so much in tune with the nature. They wake up with sunrise. You just sit and close your eyes and sit around from 5 a.m. The birds chirping will start from 5:30, like big sense I've been observing from all these years, right? Exact 5:30. You just look at the clock and just check out. They don't have any clock, but their rhythm, their clock, biological clock is adjusted to the nature so much. 5:30 they wake up. All throughout the day, just they make sure they're having their food, and by the time it's sunset, they're done with the day. And now similarly in India, so this country was blessed with people, like this land was blessed with people who had a lot of wisdom, and they had shared a lot of wisdom in the first place. It's unfortunate that we have forgotten them, and we have forgotten the kind of knowledge and wisdom which they have passed. One of it was, in our culture, we were not supposed to have food after sunset, and we call it yogic diet. We are not supposed to have food which is which is, I would say, stale. I mean, so we have in Ayurveda itself, we have categorized food differently. Now I'm talking about the food. I spoke about the air during what we have experienced in pandemic. So automatically, the day one when we came out, we just express our deepest gratitude for this life again. Okay, like we will now preserve, protect, and cherish what this life has to offer. Okay, like if we are just alive and not bothering anyone, we actually started to understand more and more animals, how they feel caged inside. And zoo is the only place where all the prisoners are innocent. So this is what made me feel like city is deprived of life. People are deprived of life because they have put in themselves into a lot of stimulation. Even the light which we feel, which the street lights or the artificial lights which we have around, uh, it makes you deprived of sleep. It confuses your head, like it's still daytime, so you're deprived of sleep. Your screen time goes up. That's creating a problem. Then your obviously sleep cycle is disturbed, your food cycle is disturbed. I mean, even what you're consuming, it's full of chemicals. And exercise, then automatically when your sleep cycle is disturbed and you are supposed to work, so you don't have time to do that most important thing, exercising. But when you live in village, there is nothing called as exercising, because any which ways throughout the day you are working in farm, you're growing food, so your daily activity is there, and whatever you are eating is also organic. You know where your food is coming from, and you start taking care of those plants and your well-being as well. And slowly the silence, it engulfs you, and when silence engulfs you, is the most beautiful thing to have on this precious life. I see more people anxious about anything. Even I go through it. I'm not saying I'm not the one. I go through anxiety whenever I enter city. Suddenly there is change, lot of sound that come in. Even I'm sleep deprived, but gradually I understand this is temporary. I have to go back there. So life is completely different, and in fact, we were doing just perfectly well. Sustainability is not nothing new to us. So India, we were already had mud houses. We were living in the mud houses. Okay, so but problem was there in our education system, where we were taught like living in a mud house. Somebody who's poor who live in mud house. Somebody who is rich live in a concrete buildings. And that mentality came in. We cleared all our mud house. We built our own dead walls, which is not breathable. And now, after 20-25 years, this Western world says, okay, the mud house is better for our health. Okay, concrete buildings are not good for us. Even what we used to do as a brush, like first thing in the morning, we used to do the brush is first form of the charcoal. It was salt. We use oil, neem twig. They came in the form of Colgate, the Pepsodent, obviously saying that this is something barbarian. you need to use this paste. And now the same companies are introducing charcoal induced toothpaste, salt induced toothpaste. So whatever I'm doing, I'm saying I'm not doing anything new. Our ancestors just did it. It's just that the knowledge which was supposed to be passed to the next generation, uh, there was some knowledge transfer gap, and at the same time there is big corporations who's working here. There is a psychological warfare going on, and the price is a soul and mind. So more and more people, it's all come down to then consumerism, because every brands want to enslave you uh, on their level and make you sick and profit out of it. Because in the first place, the big pharma companies won't exist if there is no human suffering. As long as I am healthy, why do we need them, right? Why do you need a medicine? So the whole existence of a big pharma company is all about human suffering. So more the human suffering, more they make profit. And so that starts from the food which we eat, the air which we breathe, the water which we drink, and obviously the day-to-day activity which we do. So it goes hand in hand. So that's how I see the nexus, and I just realized I need to go out there, work upon myself, and take care of the community. To be honest, I have stopped thinking about planet level, because people say we need to save the planet, but to be honest, planet was there during the hotter times, during the colder times, with dinosaurs, without dinosaurs, with humans, without humans. So planet will continue to exist. It's us who is indispensable. Like it's our story. So I believe our world is that 1 foot where you stand on it, and the community around it. First, start taking care of yourself. An individual start taking care of yourself. You know, we say we need to take care of society, but there is nothing called a society. Wherever you'll go out, you'll never find a society. You'll find an individual. So if you start taking care of yourself, I start taking care of yourself, and every individual start taking care of yourself. Right from morning, what they put inside their mouth, okay? Are they really exercising? Are they aligned? And depression is the body way of communicating. There is something wrong which you are doing. So body communicates to you. So we need to listen to ourselves and to nature. Nature also speaks to us. But since we are disconnected to ourselves, we are also disconnected to our outer world. And our outer world is a reflection of our inner world. So whatever we are doing to ourselves, we are doing it to the outer world. So our rivers are poisoned because we have poisoned ourselves. We are clearing our forest because a part of us is also dying with it when we are clearing the forest. And this is the slow process. But I am 100% sure Mother Nature, she doesn't take sides. She protects the balance of life. So she will balance it out in the form of destruction for us and other living organism, because it's one species who is creating the chaos. This era is also called as sixth mass extinction, where so there has been 5 mass extinction which has happened on this planet, but this is the first time when one species is responsible for extinction of all the other species. And in last 40 years, more than 60% of the species have went extinct. So yes, I think I have shared my story and our story, but in another connecting all the dots around it. And why am I doing it? I think it's the need of an hour, and there is no other way. So in future, we'll be having an energy crisis for sure. Water is listed as a commodity in US stock market, just like oil and gold, which means the water is going to be the next big thing. And when the energy crisis come in, that's why they are pushing more electric cars and lithium. So there is one more project which I'm working on currently on the bigger scale, where the wet waste, we take wet waste from a bigger region. Uh, we process that wet waste into biogas. So even that can be sent as a fuel, and some part of that biogas will be used to generate electricity, so that even the cars can be charged through that electricity, which will happen in Mumbai. So I need to be in city because it's the city which is creating problem, not the villages. So city are engulfing villages. it's not the village which is engulfing the city. So
True.
yes.
Absolutely. And I mean, it makes so much sense when you talk about just beginning to taking care of yourself. I mean, everybody today is about sustainability. They're talking about how we should do so many things to save the planet. And when a layman thinks or just hears this term, like, or just the statement that we need to save the planet, it's such a big burden. Like, and then we just end up doing nothing. Like, we don't know where to begin. And it's as simple as being more conscious yourself, being more careful about your own health and your choices that you're making. So that makes so much sense. And these are the things that we've been talking about in so many of the other episodes. And we are like working a brain hard, like big time, to understand fasting, to understand circadian rhythm and all of these things, right? But it's there, it's been with us. And we, in fact, even if somebody goes on a vacation to say like a village, or like to a much more calmer place in the city, they would experience this themselves on their own. Like, they don't have to teach their body to do this. And we are so out of touch with our biological clocks. Like, the clocks outside our body is telling us everything. This is when you wake up, this is when you have to eat even when you're not hungry. And like the whole thing, the system is out of place in our own body itself. So that does make a lot of sense. And also, talking about consumerism, it's funny how minimalism is the new big thing today, when it was the way we were earlier, right? Like, I mean, suddenly everybody is all about minimalism. And like, we have to do so much to accept minimalism. That's the perception a lot of us have. And I mean, tell me about that. Like, I mean, for yourself also, and because you do work with a lot of new volunteers who come and join you in the work, right? And who help you with the farming and with building houses, and being more in touch with earth and throughout this process. So over consuming is a big deal today, like in terms of food, majorly. Like, that's what's causing obesity, type 2 diabetes, so many other diseases. And we know that overeating, over consuming is the issue, but we still are out there hunting for some other reasons that we probably need to solve in order to address this, right? Like, but how, like, have you observed, has it changed for you or the people around you who have started this work with you? Like, growing your own food, being in contact with that, seeing it grow in front of you, and then utilizing it for your energy. Do you become more conscious in the process of doing it? Do you find yourself not over consuming and understanding the need of your body and also that of what you're growing in the process?
So, overconsumption, for example, when like I think I started with this whole interview with there is a whole psychological warfare going on. So we are being bombarded with a lot of ads, lot of advertisement. Even while you're walking through the lane of road, there are a lot of ads around you. Even if you're not looking at it, but subconsciously it is putting in your mind, okay, like big ads. And while even you're listening to any radio show or talk show, whenever there are ads, even if you're paying attention to it, but it's being put into your subconscious mind. So basically, I'll give an example. You'll start looking for any shoe, and 3 days later, you'll get a lot of ads for shoes. And then, straight when you put that into your subconscious mind, automatically at some point of time, you'll go and buy it. So, this is the human tendency. And so psychological warfare is done through digital marketing. Obviously, I'm not saying digital marketing is bad. I'm saying, what are you pushing through it? What are you pushing through it? Otherwise, it's going to be another big mental asylum, because people are going to profit from each other's misery, creating more misery and profiting from each other's misery. And so consumer is, if for example, minimalism, again, it's nothing new. If you would have been born in 90s, we just used to buy clothes during some special occasions. Okay, there were festivals, there were birthdays, there were any special occasions, so could be annually 6 or 7 times. But then when I say psychological warfare, if I have to sell you anything, I have to make you believe that your self-worth, if you have your, I have to basically target your self-worth. So I have to make you feel that you are not complete if you don't buy this clothes. You are not complete if you don't buy certain brand, and you lag behind. And that's where the thing starts from. Even when it's come to beauty, it is put as a commodity. We don't look beauty as an essence or vibe. It has just become a commodity. So irrespective whatever the layers we put from outside, how we look, but deep down inside, if we are not at peace, there is something we need to work on, and it will take a lot of time to understand where all of this is coming from. Because since you are just trapped in all of this, like you work, you earn, you pay your rent for your home, you buy food. Now buying food, okay, and then your self-worth is targeted, so you end up buying clothes and shoes. And there is a saying, modern slaves, they are not in chain, they are in debt. So now the debt cycle comes in, the credit card comes in, and now you have to pay those debts, so you'll start working again, and there is a whole cycle. So you are going to work entire life just to pay your debt. And it all comes down to rooftop, okay, the clothes which you wear. So understanding that the clothes only you wear to just cover your skin, there is nothing beyond it. And the food which you eat, so also the food which you eat, is it nutritious? So that is the one another question one needs to be asked. So if your rooftop has been taken care, food and your clothes, I think the next thing that comes to you is more inner journey. The more you understand yourself, you'll understand what's happening outside, how everything interacting with you uh, affects the choices which we make. For example, if I'm unconscious, I might buy a lot of plastic. Okay, there are things which is wrapped in plastic. Sometimes we don't have an alternative to it, and we do buy it. Okay, if I have to buy anything, let's assume something which is wrapped in plastic, I don't have an alternative to it. uh, but discarding it, it needs to go back for the recycling. But let's assume I end up throwing in a river. So the things, it becomes more messy around if I'm not aware how I'm affecting everything around me. So it's just not. So if an individual is completely disconnected, it's completely is in chaos within himself, and there are 10 people more. Imagine uh, the whole house is in chaos, and there is society is in chaos, then your region is in chaos. I mean, so that's how I say, like, you don't have to take care of your world and community, you just take care of yourself. When you are at peace, start educating at your home, start with your parents. I think parents are much more they have little knowledge than us because they have already lived through it. And whatever can be done at your home, if one take care of their home, that's it, that's your world. Just take care of that planet, that world. And so I left the point on consumerism, obviously, and I already target how the consumerism is going up because the psychological warfare, and only way to come back to basically uh, come back to this existence where we call it as a minimalism is understanding why are we buying it and do we really use it. Yeah.
Understood. These were some really amazing insights. And for the ones who don't know or don't follow you yet, any of our listeners, definitely go and check out your work and everything that you're doing. The links will be in the description below. But you are currently living quite off the grid. You are working in villages and helping villagers and working on these eco projects, right? So, just for our listeners to have this background for themselves, not everybody would be able to make this change immediately in their life. Like, even if they wanted to live off the grid, or even if they wanted to escape the city for even, say, a few months, it's not like something that they can completely take up immediately, right? Like, in the moment. Even if I think of my parents or for myself also. So, what would you say if someone was to ask you that some things that they can immediately start doing, one for themselves, and two, obviously not completely impacting the planet, but in some small ways that we can change the way that we're doing things today? So what would be these things someone can start doing right now in being in the city?
First is obviously composting. It's the moral duty you to compost. segregate your waste, the wet waste and dry waste. Use this wet waste for your plants if you are growing it, even with house plant. This is the one aspect of it that anybody can do it. But since I see every individual as their one little world or one little planet or one little universe, because when you just go deep inside, there are trillions of cells inside, which functions differently, I mean, I see every cell also as an individual. So that's how I see one individual as a whole universe working together. And it's a very mysterious thing, how it's happening. Even like a simple thing like breathing, okay? We call it like we are breathing, but it's not. It's involuntary. It's just happening. Okay. So the second most important thing which I will say is take care of your being, and you start with meditating. The first half an hour, find that half an hour in your day when you are just meditating, a little bit of exercise, when your mental health is at peace, okay, and nutrition. So whatever you eat is nutritious. When you start taking care of yourself, your well-being, when your stomach is full, okay, and your brain is connected to your heart, all the answers will come to you. Then you don't need any guru, you don't need any teacher, you don't need anyone out there, because nobody knows what it means like to live, and nobody knows what it means like to die, like what happens after death. So it's a very mysterious world. But to unlock and understand this whole mystery, one needs to it needs to go inside to understand life outside, and all the answers you have been seeking outside, it will come from inside. uh, and living the off the grid life, yes, it has its own challenges, and I'm not asking everybody to leave their cities and come here, because even the off grid living would miss its essence. It will become a city. uh, but if you're living in your city, this is the one two thing which you can do, and start building a community around it. Okay, let's assume in your society, wherever you're living, you take an initiative where every weekend we put a little projector out there and we put a documentary on something. Okay, we get popcorns and everything, we get little musicians out there. So find that 3-4 hour on weekend where you're creating a community where everybody's laughing, they're cheerful. At least on weekends, try to do one that yoga session, so that once they get little hook of it, why it's important, automatically they'll start. And as the community comes together, there is a love, compassion, and things will fall in place. This world is in chaos because we lack love and compassion. So the money was created to be used and people were created to be loved, but the world is in chaos because people are being used and money is being loved. So it starts from one, two individual who needs to take that initiative. There would be 3-4 people who will be following you, but I'm 100% sure 2-3 months down the line you'll be having a community of that people. So use your terrace spaces, put a projector, put those beds, little beds and mattresses around after monsoon, obviously. Make a little fairy light, make that vibe around, where people sit watching documentaries. So every weekend you're learning something about the world. Okay, so you need some little light time. You can put some other movies, but avoid violence at all costs, because childrens learn and imitate adults. So whatever we are feeding into their mind, they'll become one tomorrow. So they are like a wet pot. Like whichever way you'll mold it, they'll become one. So this is the one way you start building your community in your societies. And if one society is doing it successfully, take it to next society, tell them like this is how we are doing it, this is what happens, and invite them in the first place and make them experience. And if they love it, they can start in their place. So if you don't need lot of people to do simple things, you just one individual who start with simple thing, and the actions as it follows, then every individual start following it, obviously it becomes the masses. So individual, again, it's all come down to individual. So that's third thing one can do it in city. So obviously imagine yourself, Saturday, it's weekend, instead of just going out there getting drunk, that's how the whole city work, dancing for nothing, because you're already full of anxiety, you are already full of suffering, and you're getting drunk. So you're suppressing your emotions because you don't want to face your reality, and you're dancing with it wherever you are, or having going out there for food. Instead of that, imagine opposite of it, where Saturday you have a little jamming session. Everybody's coming there playing music. There is karaoke where elderly woman is singing and laughing and dancing on it. And then you have a little kids session painting which is going on, starts from afternoon or evening. And at the night there is a projector set up, everyone getting their food whatever they have cooked, and we exchange with each other. So there is a new dishes coming in, they can have popcorn, sit together, watch that little documentary, and happily say, okay, very beautiful thing. And then obviously you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Start meditating, do little yoga, be more joyful, and greet people. So that when there's a love and bond, it changes. Then there is no difference between off-grid living and city, because the city is deprived of love. Out there, village is full of love and life. So this is the only thing I long for. The trees, birds, insect, love, laughter. So these are the little things I long for, and in whichever way I get it, whether it's in city or in villages, I make sure that I'm getting like full of it. I'm greedy in that sense. Get way here.
That's amazing. That just reminded me of the movie Swadesh for a little bit. But I hope that we do start doing this. And it's amazing that, I mean, I stay in Pune right now, and I am sure that other cities also have this. But it's great to see that this culture is coming back. It's growing, and people are finding these things to do on the weekends, which is very different from the whole thing that you do after a corporate day, after a corporate life. And this is building up. People are coming together, they are building communities, they are doing things that they really wanted to do probably as a child, and coming back and doing it together at whatever age they are right now. So that's just like such a simple thought and such simple actionables that we can start doing. And we do see this happening every like few months when it's a festival or something, and it does gives us so much joy to just connect with the people around us, and to do the small activities or small things as a community. And just doing this on a weekly basis, and probably something which has a lot more meaning to it. It would be amazing to see that. And is there anything that you'd like to share about your upcoming projects or work? Or, I mean, I know that your whole thing is you don't your social presence is not about fame or the page growing and making it big that way. But is there any shout out that you'd like to give, like for people who might want to volunteer in some or the other way, and the upcoming projects that they can look up to and probably reach out to you for?
There are three which is I'm currently working on. One is natural building. So anybody's interested to learn how to build a mud house, that's the one. Another two is on the bigger level, where I'm building a brand where I'm procuring millets. So now millets is something very nutritious. They grow in drought-prone region. They can grow in, so they are climate-resilient food, and they are very nutritious. So country like India, they where more than 40% of women are suffering from anemia. There is stunting, there is malnourishment in India. Millets, very few people are aware about what is how millets can benefit all of us. So I'm bringing that millets, eliminating the middleman, making sure to keep the prices as low as possible, packaging in a paper packaging, and building that whole setup where more and more people from the cities are able to buy it and ready to cook. Like you just put it in the boiling water, 5 minutes, no preservatives in it, 100% natural. You just cook it. So this is one thing which I'm working on. There are 9 products to it. And third most important thing which I'm working, this will start from Mumbai, where it's already started, where India's first plant where the waste is being used to generate electricity. This has already started, which I'll be working there. So obviously I'll be building a community around it. So these are the 3 major things as of now. And in upcoming months, I think I'll start conducting yoga session and build a community around it as well. So 4 things. Yeah. So yeah.
Amazing. And I just have to say that the work you're doing is having such a great impact. I mean, I'm sure you get this a lot, but you are literally like breaking these knots, opening up these knots in so many youngsters today about what goals they had about probably money, finances, or the lifestyle that they wanted to live, and being under so much stress to like get that in any way possible, right? And just like looking at your building projects, it that's how I started following you. Like it completely like surprised me. Can we really build a house at such little cost, and can we really do that? Because that's like 1% of what I was thinking I need to earn, and like I just need to do this before 25, and only then will I feel sufficient and independent, and be able to make a living for myself. So I hope that everybody listening to this goes to your page right now and discovers it and learns more about it. And it is really having a major impact in terms of what a new vision us youngsters can have for the near future, and not be overwhelmed and stressed under the same thing that we've been projecting on ourselves, and probably in our generation, like from our from our parents or grandparents, and this is the status that we want to achieve in our life. And this is a completely different world that you've opened us up to, and I'm really grateful for that. And I hope that a lot of my friends also get to know more and learn more about this, and also hopefully volunteer with you and learn more about the work that you're doing.
The world was already open. It's just that we have shut our eyes and we were just sitting in one place. It was already open, and it's time to get awakened. That's why it's called as awakening, mass awakening. People who are just waking up and understanding the matrix. They understand how there is a big nexus between the whole corporations and how it's affecting the human mind and health. They will wake up. Uh, so gradually it will take some time, but yes, okay, no electricity.
Absolutely, no worries. And as we conclude today's episode, do you have any last messages or thoughts to leave us with?
Uh, I think just three words. Uh, Love is the answer. 4 words. Love is the answer. So love yourself and love the world. I think when I say world, people around you, and tell them that you love them. Don't keep it inside yourself. And that's it. It's a beautiful place to live. It's a beautiful existence. And this world is beautiful. Know it when you have it.
That's amazing. That's a lovely message. Thank you so much. I'm sure that this episode is going to come out as a fresh breath of air for our listeners from, all the, hard thinking that we've been doing about our health and well-being, and about aging and longevity in that terms, and how really simple it can get down to, and by us getting back to our roots. So thank you so much for sharing these amazing insights, and I hope that our listeners do reach out to you and have an opportunity to connect with you on some level. That's it for today's episode. I'm Sakshi Pawar, and I'll be your host for the Settle or Be Better podcast. So stay tuned while we bring more inspiring stories. You know the drill. Subscribe to the Settle or Be Better podcast, like, share, and comment on our videos. And oh, hit the bell icon, because you don't want to miss the mind boggling health discussions we're about to bring for you. Why settle when you can be better?